always put
They're
money in.
left the yard.
I watch them put money down, they don't come back out and refill them, but every time I see people all the time, but listen, I think the smartest thing is take them out altogether and just designate that visitor park. You know, that might have been why they went in, was because people were parking all day long and the public could never use it. That turns people over about 2 weeks prior to have they were canceling all commercial insurance and so they'd already told me that they were going to cancel. 18 years and only got one.
Here in about a minute, please.
I'm digging a deeper hole.
I'll tell you what. All right, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Grand Traverse County Public Health and Safety Committee to order. We'll start with rising for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sam, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Fleece,
Present.
Max Bauer.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Richardson.
Here.
Lemkool.
Here.
Henschel.
Yes, ma'am.
Inman.
Here.
Gilman.
Here.
Chairman Wheelock.
Yes, ma'am. The next order of business would be the approval of the February 2011 Public Health and Safety Committee meetings. As you will recall, there was no public health meeting in March.
Move for approval for the February 2nd, 2011
Support.
Public Health and Safety minutes.
Do I have support? Support by Fleece. Motion by Inman, supported by Fleece to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. This is the first opportunity for public comment. Sam, if you'd read the rules for public comment, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Did I read the MCL?
No.
Public comment should be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Yes, ma'am, Georgia.
My name's Georgia Durga. I'm Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging Director, and I wanted to let you know that our endowment fund awarded us a grant in the amount of $6,329 for Commission on Aging operations.
Oh.
It was from our actual endowment, and it was interest, but I didn't know if I needed approval from this board to accept it, so I'm bringing it here tonight.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to make comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the agenda. There is another opportunity for public comment later in the agenda. No special order of business. We have a consent calendar. If we could read the consent calendar, please.
You need approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
So,
Motion by Gilman, supported by Fleece to approve the agenda.
You're going to talk to Ben?
Yes.
So. Okay, I won't put it on the agenda.
Do we need to put George's thing on the agenda?
We can check with the,
Why don't you
Put it
Go
as
ahead
part of the
and-
Commission on Aging?
I would add it to the consent calendar under the approved section where we already have we have a donation report and a special donation that came through, so you could add it as,
Can we put it under consent without having previous notice of us?
yeah, everything that's on your consent calendar, you haven't had notice of it until it was
You
put
haven't
on.
We've gotten it in here.
It's been pre-printed.
It's pre-printed,
Then my suggestion is you just wait and we'll do it next month.
whatever.
Yeah,
We
there's
can
no
add
reason.
it to the agenda. I don't have a problem with that, just putting it into the Commission on Aging report.
what's your pleasure? Under B3, we will put receive endowment.
Okay?
Okay.
So is the motion happy in the second with the amendment to the agenda?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Carries. Okay, now we'll get to the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Receive and file Community Corrections monthly reports for February, Commission on Aging monthly report, approve, Commission on Aging anonymous donation, approve acceptance, Commission on Aging 2010 annual donation report, approve acceptance, MDCH 2010-2011 CPBC agreement amendment number 1, Sheriff's Office surplus items, and am I adding?
No, the other one will go under action later. Okay, we've heard the consent calendar. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to have any of those items removed? Any member of the commission? Ross?
B4, please. Sheriff's Office surplus items.
Motion to approve the consent action calendar to minus the B4.
Support.
Motion by Lemko, supported by Fleece. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Max Bauer?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Richardson?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yep.
Henschel?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Chairman Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Yes.
Okay. Brings us to department action items. The first action item is the proposed jail services agreement. Dennis, are you speaking to this on behalf of Captain Hall, or was?
I can speak to it, and Greg Paffhouse from
Greg
Mental
is here.
Health is here. We have, after many months of work with Bob Cooney, have developed this agreement. Greg has reviewed it and made some changes, and I have a letter from Bob Cooney indicating he's in support of it. I spoke with Nate Elger today, and the Sheriff's Office is in support of it, as am I. So I think everybody's on the same page, Greg, and everybody is recommending approval.
Okay. Larry?
Dennis, question. I'm assuming that this is we haven't had a previous agreement of this nature in the past.
We have not
That's
had
the
an
first
agreement.
question.
We have not had an agreement of this nature. We have our long-term agreement that dictates how
Just
we
the
will.
funding part.
That's correct.
And
It
then-
does speak to jail services, but Greg has asked for a specific agreement because his state agency is requiring a specific agreement in order to keep the funding in place for this next year.
Oh, I'm following you.
It will be an issue in the future. This may be another issue, but in order for him to qualify for it being considered as acceptable by the state, he needs an
I
agreement
see.
like this.
So does that mean that there is going to be more activity by virtue of this agreement with mental health reviews in the county jail?
There will be approximately the same level of activity that there has been in the past, although Greg has been very good about meeting with us and talking about some of the areas where we think there's deficiencies, and we've been working on those issues. So we think we're going to be able to address a good portion of those. But this really only relates to his need for having a written one-year agreement in place in order so that he doesn't jeopardize his funding with the state. And so that's the purpose of this. The bigger issue of whether or not we're getting the services we need is something that we continually work on. And
Motion to
Greg,
approve
please
the
feel free to
agreement.
come up if you have any questions, or if you have any comments.
Support.
I have a motion by Limco, supported by Henschel, to approve the agreement. Further questions? Okay, of course I have a couple. But primarily, it's typo things. Greg, if you could check, you probably have yours. On page 1 of the agreement, it says effective October 1st, 2011. And then down in section 3, it says the agreement will run October 1st, 2010. I think that's probably just a typo, right? Probably better use the speaker or the microphone.
Greg Pathos, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health, and thank you for having this on the agenda. On page 1, the purpose of the agreement, the issue of the 2011 date, Sonny, is actually correct. And what that last sentence in that section was trying to say is that as of 10/1/2011, we will not be able to use state general funds unless there's a change legislatively. So that sentence really is intended to say, additionally, the parties agree to coordinate efforts to seek a statewide solution that would allow for general fund dollars to be used to support services effective 10/1/2011.
Okay, so this is talking about the refunding that may happen in the future if we
Correct.
change the
That we want to
Attorney
advocate.
General's opinion.
Correct. Absolutely.
The other one is in 5, where it's talking about dispensing medications. I think it's dispensing of medication, not dispensing of medication.
That's section 5?
Section 5, the third section, right below where the highlighted section is these discussions. It talks about psychiatric care and dispensing
Dispending,
medication.
okay, got it.
Dispending, I don't believe, is a word that I'm familiar with, so I'm guessing there
Dispensing?
should be dispensing the medications
That came from the
there.
attorney, so
Yes.
we'll double check that.
Yeah, it's fine, I just, I've always been concerned about the volume of mental health care that we need in the jail and what we're getting, and that's an ongoing discussion, I think, and Greg and I have had that discussion on multiple occasions, and, I think the agreement's a good thing. It gives us a way to qualify for some of those general fund dollars in this budget year. Rob?
I Googled it. Dispend is to pay out, expend, or spend.
Would you pay out medications?
That's what.
I think dispensing is the word.
I just thought dispensing the medications was better placed, but that's fine. Okay, we have a motion made and
You have another.
seconded to approve the agreement. Oh, I'm sorry, Ross.
Yeah, I did have a question. Probably, Dennis, this is for you. Again, in section 5 under services, the last bullet point, it says, identify individuals from the sheriff's office, county, and NLCMH. Which unit of the county would that be?
Well, that's, it is the sheriff representatives, which include Bob Hall, Buck Monroe, Nate Elger, and then it would be myself. Dean Bott has
So
been involved.
administration, basically?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Further questions? We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
And I just want to clarify, that is with changing that word, correct? Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Enjoy your evening. All right, the next item is the Commission on Aging, Senior Center budget. Ladies? Get the hot seat, I got the button right here.
They go slime us.
Dennis got the button over there and the sheriff comes rushing in, one or the other.
We're fast, so we can.
Don.
Georgia Durga, Director, Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging.
Lori Wells, Senior Center Director.
We are here today The intergovernmental agreement has been approved, and once we got past that step, then we need to have a budget approved for the senior center. And the budget, although it's a full-year budget, technically, we will only be spending approximately 6 months' worth of the revenue, so some of that money will go into a fund balance to meet the county's 15 to 20% requirement for a fund balance. So we do want to, with your approval, we wanted to start hiring at least 2 employees and probably all 3 before the July 1st merge date so that they can be trained and start taking over. And we want the outreach person to continue George McBath's work in the outlying parts of the county. And then the current program person that's working with Lori right now is retiring June 1st. So we wanted to have someone hired and trained before that date with your approval.
So the reason this is set up this way is because I asked them to put together a senior center budget that would reflect the new positions that are being, or the position changes that are being incorporated into the senior center when we take over. Wanted to make sure that the millage had enough money in it to support these positions, such as the assistant, the secretarial clerical position
Clerk.
at the senior center. And so that was really the purpose of item 1. You will see this again, because you haven't adopted a senior center budget. You'll see this again in a budget amendment that Dean will prepare for Ways and Means for you to actually adopt the budget amendment. But we thought it was important to ask them to go through the exercise of preparing a budget so then we could look out at the 5-year numbers to make sure there would be adequate funds in there to fund this program for the full 5 years. Dean worked with them on this, and the result of that was Dean feels that there will be adequate money in there to include this new position and allow them to do the work, including the outreach work. So that was the purpose of number 1. Chris?
I would move to approve the 2011 Senior Center budget in the amount of $509,706 to be used for Senior Center operations, including countywide programming and outreach.
Second that.
Motion by Max Barr, supported by Gilman. Further discussion? Ross?
Yeah, I had a few questions, actually. The 2 office coordinators that you're going to hire, they will be handling the outreach in the outlying county?
One is replacing Pat Thompson, our current program coordinator, and the other one is the outreach person. But it's basically, they're being hired in at the same level.
Right.
One will be internal, and one will be out.
So
These are existing positions,
One is,
one is.
and one's a temporary position.
but there is a
yeah.
position there.
Yeah.
So these are positions that are in the senior center under the city, but now that this is becoming part of the county on July 1st, the positions have to be adopted into the staffing plan. So they are really 2 positions that are currently there.
No, I understand that. I was just
Okay.
trying to clarify who was doing what.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Pat's replacement will
so-
work at the senior center, correct, Lori?
Yes,
So the way you envision this is one person will work at the senior center in downtown Traverse City, and the other one will share his or her time throughout the county.
yes. And the reason they're coming in same level, so they can be cross-trained and cover for each other.
Right, and then the outreach person that you have now, the temporary position, is actually being funded by the county now, isn't that right, or?
It's being funded by the
mostly?
Commission on Aging
Yeah.
with a grant.
That's the county, I think.
Yes, yes.
Last time I looked anyway.
So the-
It is.
So the
I'm
new
sorry.
position is the clerical position, and that's an additional position that has not been there in the past.
Okay. The service contracts for $68,000, that's the contract with the city for you
Right.
basically? What's the contractual services for $40,800?
Yeah, like the
We
cleaning and
have a cleaning, there'll be a cleaning contract.
garbage services, or, I don't know if you call it garbage.
No, there's
but
something else
Refuse
that's...
removal services.
There's something else in there that's larger than that, and I can't recall what it
The
is.
cleaning is almost 20, and,
There were several items in that contractual line item. I
You
don't
have
know
it
if
broken down?
I didn't bring my list of all those items, but there were several contractual agreements. Some she has right now, and we're going to meet with Dean to figure out how we can transfer those over from the city to the county. But
Okay.
there was a long list of, not a long list, but there was several contracts that are currently in place at the senior center.
Okay. And then down on the, right before you get to the program budget total, says funds for SUBS, I assume is subsequent?
Subsequent years.
So basically, that's $85,450 that's being used to build the fund balance in addition to whatever else is left over?
Or if the millage revenue isn't quite what we had projected, because
Right.
last year we projected quite high, that will come out of there too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Other questions? Chris?
I just want to say, most department heads have to do just one budget a year. You two have done 2 budgets, and you've done a transition timeline. I just want to say that I know the 2 of you have just really put in a lot of extra time and effort and work, and thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess the only question I had is in regard to the hiring. Dennis, is this hiring that comes through our HR department and are hired by us, or is it handled by the Commission on Aging directly?
No, and they're handled by us. We assist them in all the hirings. These will be 2 county employees, so they'll go through the regular hiring process.
3, there were 3 county employees.
3, you're
Yeah.
right, the new one, yeah.
Yeah, we always go through human resources.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve the budget. Is there any further questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Commission Aging Staffing Plan Amendment. I'm assuming that would be to reflect these 3 positions that we just recently spoke of.
That's correct.
I would entertain a motion to.
I would move
support
to
those.
add 2 FTE office coordinator positions and 1 FTE office clerk position to the Commission on Aging staffing plan effective April 28th, 2011.
Support.
Motion by Richardson, supported by Maxbauer. We do note that the funding for these positions will come from the senior center millage. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
I want to ask questions.
Did you want to add something?
I do. I have a request. We were wondering, because Pat is leaving fairly soon in this process, we were wondering if we could get approval from the county board to post and advertise for the positions and interview, but not make an offer until after the county board's approved it at the end of April. If we could at least start the process, though, that would save us
We have no
some
problem with that.
weeks.
We've done that in the past, and
We
frankly,
quite often advertise for positions before we fill them.
we probably won't even get to the interview stage by the time you act on it at the end of the month, but there's always the chance that we will.
That's fine. Okay. All right, moving forward,
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
as Georgia outlined, we have an endowment gift of $6,329. We need a motion to approve that, receive that money.
Second.
Motion by
Dickey?
Dick, second by Inman. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you. And happy birthday, Dick.
You know, he had to mouth off and say how old I was.
Say how old you were.
He did.
Okay, Health Department,
You got a
staffing
birthday present from the
plans.
city.
That's
Fred
the Fred and
Kiesler.
Jerry show.
Health Officer, Grand Traverse County Health Department. We have a couple issues on staffing plan. We had a nurse practitioner on contract for some years. Actually, she was one of our management, and then she went into private practice, and we contracted with her for family planning nurse practitionership. And has left us, and now we have that vacancy of a 4/10 of a position, and we have an internal candidate who's a nurse practitioner that would like to increase her time by working in that capacity. So that would shift, it's a change from contractual to a staff member, and it's about a $2,900 difference. That's the first change. The other one is that as you're in the first CPBC change is that we have an additional $32,436 added to our WIC program. We'd like to add a .25 FTE registered dietitian, which would just be increasing the time of a staff, an existing staff by some, and that would use about $13,900 of that $32,000. And those are the two staffing changes we wanted.
Ross?
I'll move for approval to add a .4 FTE nurse practitioner and .25 FTE registered dietitian to the Health Department staffing plan.
Support.
Motion by Richardson, supported by Fleece. Further discussion, Herb?
Yeah, we're taking and not contracting out for this position. Now they're going to become a full-time employee. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, just about.
So there was no other option to be able to contract that position out at a cheaper, because now we're going to be paying benefits and everything else. And
Right.
have you calculated that in the whole cost?
Well, I think that it's pretty much a union issue, is that we were on kind of shaky ground of having this contractual person doing the same work as staff people were. And the union had not made an issue of it because they knew that I wasn't going to be there that much longer. And then we're just doing that, and if we didn't have any internal candidates, it might not be as much of an issue.
Jerry Pugh, Finance Director. Those benefit costs are reflected in this computation, Herb. And I guess just one other point, this will give us a little more flexibility with our adolescent clinics where we do have nurse practitioners as well. So covering, during times when somebody's on vacation or some other leave. So I think it's going to be a win-win
Jerry,
for us.
how does the cost of these positions compare to the cost of what we were paying in the contract, to our contract person?
That's what's reflected here. The cost of the .4 position is $28.68 more than what the contractual amount was.
And you've identified the funding for that, I'm assuming.
Right.
Correct.
Jerry? Ross?
So the dietitian that you're adding a quarter FTE to, is that person working 3/4 time now and going to full-time, or?
Correct.
Basically?
Right.
Okay.
And that person is already a county employee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 2 registered dietitians that are less than full-time. One is .9 right now, and another one is .75.
Is there a way that other persons who are already county employees can enhance their time and fill this position, or?
You have to be a registered dietitian.
Right.
It requires at
The-
least a bachelor's degree.
The contractual nurse practitioner position?
Yes.
Backing up.
Yes. That's a master's degree level, but we have a person that's available for that on staff.
We have a nurse practitioner in-house that does not
Now-
work full-time.
Has there been, and obviously you say that the union has not made a stink about it because, hey, they see that, the light at the end of the tunnel, it was, why bother with it? Has there been a discussion, what if you decided to contract that position out again?
No. Because we had some interest internally, and actually, we thought it was favorable for us because it gave us more flexibility, as Jerry pointed out, the same nurse working at the adolescent clinic also for regular community health.
We were already in a situation where we had a part-time or a less than full-time employee filling in for a contractual person when she decided she wasn't going to work on a particular clinic. So the situation is already awkward.
Rob?
Do I understand correctly that if we were to keep this position as a contract position, we would be out of alignment with a union contract that we've agreed to? Is that the case?
That was the feeling we had when we got into negotiations.
Contract requires that anybody who works over, I want to say 800 hours, I can't remember exactly, that the position should be a union position. But because of this budget is so unique in that the dollars go up and down and change 4 or 5 or 6 times during the year, and we try as best we can to keep as much flexibility in that. So sometimes a person will be working 6/10 in Program A, and the funding goes down to where they can only work 4/10, and we'll take their other 2/10 and try to put it in Program B so that the person can keep the same number of hours. That's kind of a lot of what goes on here. And so the union has been good with us about allowing this to continue with a contractual person, and we have other contractual people as well, don't we? Or have we gotten rid of them now?
We're pretty much done with
Within the existing
contract- right.
staff.
Dr. Collins and Dr. Holden are the
Yeah.
two major contractors.
Okay, our two
we have
doctors.
now.
But the contract does say that if you work over a certain number of hours, it can be petitioned to be petitioned to be union, and they've let this go for years.
How many hours is the position?
It's a little more than .4.
How does that relate to 800?
It's right at about, I would guess. There,
Full-time is
2008.
1,950, so .4 is roughly 800 hours. But it does involve 2 night clinics, so there's a few extra hours in there. And then there's occasions when clinics are canceled, so I can't tell you off the top of my head exactly how many hours, but it's right in that ballpark.
Will we be hiring additional staff to take care of this?
No, we will
internally.
will be increasing an FTE of existing staff.
Okay.
So there wouldn't, this gal has already been working in a related clinic, doing our BCCP clinic, which is in the same facility, and, she is familiar with it and has relieved the existing, or the previous contractual nurse practitioner when she was absent.
Did you say 1,980?
1,950 is
1950?
based on a 37.5-hour work week for 52 weeks. I
So it's a 780-hour, so it doesn't have to be union.
Russ? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not exactly 780. As he said, there
No,
are
there's,
other
okay,
clinics that
so
they
add
work.
4 more hours per month, so another 448 hours.
So it would be over 800, so
Yeah.
by the contract we agreed to, we pretty much have to do this.
Yeah, and that number I gave you is a rough number. I don't have the contract in front of me, but it's around 800 hours. I'd have to look at their specific contract.
But the point is that you have a trained incumbent person who's willing to take these hours, already on staff, whose work you must be satisfied with, or you wouldn't be willing to expand this person's hours, as opposed to going out and trying to find someone to work a part-time contract for roughly the same amount of money. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So you could easily spend more than $2,800 looking for someone to fill this part-time contract.
Right.
And the ability of increasing the part-time people to full-time or close to full-time is that it also gives you more flexibility than having 2 different people, one at part-time and one at part-time contract would give you, correct?
Right, and then,
I mean, we're not talking about rewarding the union here. We're talking about making a good management decision, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, ultimately, too, we feel we won't cancel as many clinics, so we're going to be able to provide more services to the community, because under our existing relationship with the contractor, if we get a call Wednesday morning saying, I'm not going to be in today, we didn't have a lot of flexibility in trying to, cover that clinic. We would basically...
That's really a big part of the issue, is that we actually have more of a say as to setting the times and so forth. I mean, otherwise you have to go through a breach of contract and with the contractor, whereas with an employee, we can say, well, we're going to have another evening meeting, evening clinic this coming month. We can do that within our contract with the union.
Right. And it's part of your job to be there.
Right.
Do we have a motion?
We have a motion, we have a second. Rob?
Just real quick, once again, I didn't quite understand your answer to this last time. The 2868, that's just going to increase your budget, does that include the benefits package as well?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's everything.
That is
That's everything.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Last summer, our nursing administrator left, and we recruited for some time and were unable to find someone to fill that position. And so we went through a restructuring process, a reorganization of moving Kit to the administrative position. changing Jerry's position to finance director and internal, no, what is your title?
Finance and Administrative Services.
Administrative Services, thank you. And we were then going to come back around now to see and we have a pretty good idea what we want to do. But we had administrative staff meeting, we discussed this, is that there's a certain amount of uncertainty of where programs are going, funding, both from the state and the federal. And right now, what we'd like to do is just delay that decision to see till the smoke clears a little bit as to what's going to happen, because we just got an amendment in our contract that increased our funding by 30-some thousand.
I noticed that.
But I don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
3 months from now, and so we would just kind of like to just set on this for a little bit till I know, because I don't want to go through a reorganization and then say, oh, wasn't this what I wanted, and have to do it again.
But we have already changed the duties and responsibilities this Kit's doing and that Jerry's doing, correct?
Right.
So, and that seems to be working for us,
Well,
correct?
but we told you that was a temporary solution because
understand.
Kit's taken on the duty of 2, and he's picked up some of it as well. And we also have an issue with some coordinator positions. Are they coordinators or supervisors now?
Now, here's the way.
That we need to address.
5 coordinators, but they're in this bargaining unit. So they're basically a supervisor, but they can't totally supervise. They can't reprimand an employee or so, because you can't do that if you're in the same bargaining unit. So what we'd probably be doing is taking some or all of those out of the bargaining unit because to make them into supervisors. But with the right blend of how many positions and how we're going to do this, we are a little hesitant on doing that right now till I have a clear idea what's going to happen with our budget for this coming year.
You let me know as soon as you have a clear idea what the state's going to do, okay?
Yeah, well, I don't know if the government's going to be open come Saturday, so I don't know what's going to happen.
That's the federal, oh,
Yeah,
that's true.
he's federal, yeah.
That's right.
With regard to the organizational structure, could you refresh my memory at least, on your marketing person had left, and...
Community outreach.
Community outreach person had left, and have you filled that spot?
Yes.
All right. Now, are they moving forward on this NACO prescription card thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, she got, just in the mail this week, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of promotion cards that's going to go into the DPW billing.
Okay, all right, good.
And so we're going to be distributing that. And they're going out, and I'll get a report back to you as to how much is used. But it is saving people money. It's just that there's enough of these prescription programs out there that just not like a huge rush. But we have them out at the different county buildings. We've been working with the pharmacies, and we've got it on our website, and we also are going to put them in stuffers into people's bills for DPW. So we're promoting it.
How long did we leave the position open, Fred? Or Jerry?
6 months.
6 months.
That's what I thought.
And then we started having problems because our website was getting way out of whack and out of date, and some dead ends on it. And we hired she was the health educator for District 10 Health Department. She's from Leelanau County originally and went to Glen Lake School. And so she's basically a local person, and her name's Sarah Ray, and she came on shortly after the first of the year. And she's worked out really well.
And some of the success, throw to her, but some of the success stories that we heard at NACO and MAC was, how these counties went out and actually marketed the card and the big effect that they're having in terms of the cost savings overall to their county residents, which they get, like, I think a monthly report or something like that, a quarterly monthly report. But, they're putting them in libraries, we're at the hospital, they're looking at different local units of government, the townships and those kinds of things. And so just some thoughts in terms of how to get it out there.
Herb? So I just might say that Sarah's been an excellent addition to the Wellness Committee, and I appreciate her being part of that. And she also reports and talks about the cards at the Community Collaborative meeting on a monthly basis. So she's out there hawking them. And then Christine took them up to the Garfield Township
Yeah, good idea.
meeting, and gave it to the township there and made it a presentation at the meeting there,
And
so.
gave them a display so they could,
Oh, okay, good
So
idea.
each of us may want to take
Yeah, I might want
those,
to do that, just grab mine, just give
take
it
them
five
to your
townships
different
and all that.
townships. And
yeah.
they have a display rack that they can put at each of their counters, so that it's just another way, so, yeah.
If anybody's interested, let me know, I'll get them in your mailbox too.
Yeah,
can you
Just, Fred, let's just do that for all the townships.
Yeah,
We'll make up a set for each township, and I'll
Yeah.
put them in the commissioners' boxes who represent those townships, and they can get them out.
that'd be great. Yeah, good idea.
Garfield's done, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
At this point, we're going to just kind of, this is for informational purposes
Yep.
as far as the restructuring of the administrative staff at the Health Department. So we'll move forward to unfinished business. We have none.
Thanks, guys.
New business. Did you guys have something else? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
You have,
the new business, we had the Bay County resolution. As you remember, it was
Wait,
referred from the
excuse
Board of
me.
Commissioners meeting.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
where I pulled off the thing from the consent calendar, is that come new?
Office supplies,
Or
or
is
office
that after new
surplus.
business, or is that unfinished business?
We-
It doesn't matter to me, but, you know.
We can do it either way. Let's back up and we'll deal with the sheriff's office surplus items. I'm sorry, Ross, I
That's all right.
skipped right over that.
I just had a couple questions. Dennis, are you very well versed in this? or-
Just generally, so no, not
Okay.
specifically, but.
Is this the first year they're doing it this way?
No,
or-
no.
Oh,
They've
okay.
done it, actually, the purchasing policy in your county policy does not require them to bring this to you. All that has to happen is they have to be reviewed by Dean Bott, show that they've been fully depreciated and that their value is limited. We're allowed to declare them surplus. But the sheriff has always, and I bring this up periodically, the sheriff has always liked to bring it to you so that you're aware of the things that he's putting out. So,
Okay.
but this is why we've done this every year.
But done it with this propertyroom.com as opposed
No,
to?
no, that's the first time we're doing that as far as I know.
Okay.
But we do sell all of the surplus vehicles and other equipment.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I understand.
And through an online auction service.
I understand that. Do you know what because they're talking about this being a savings over what they did before. They mentioned that they got together with the city and had a joint auction together or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what their expenses were previously?
I do not, but I can get a report for you and have that for you at Ways and Means, or at RMA next week. RMA next week.
Okay, or even just
That's-
in time for the end of month meeting, because that's where it's going to show up.
I guess that would be better if I had that time, yep.
And
I'll do
you,
that.
and also if we could just get some numbers on how much money they actually, bring in. Because I don't know if they're getting $10 a bike or 75 or 100 or whatever.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
When we started those auctions years ago, joint auctions, a police officer was always the auctioneer. And as he was looking at the crowd, if there was a kid obviously in need of a bicycle, the kid could get to buy that bike for $1 or sometimes the kid didn't have a chance to bid,
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a community-orientated function, and that's the way the bicycles, but there's sometimes, like now, in the spring of the year, they get so doggone many of them, because this is just a county list. The
Right.
city's list is even longer generally.
Yeah.
And so they sell them, and, they take care of the people in need, if you will, and then the rest of it, they just sell across.
So when they sell them at auction, is there some, provision to let people, who really need them, buy them?
Oh, yeah,
at a better price?
this is advertised and everything.
But there's no special
Requirements.
allowance. So in other words, the revenue comes into the general fund of the
General
sheriff's
fund, yeah,
office.
like in
Yeah.
the city's case, we always took the revenue from the auction.
And one of the reasons I mention this is because, this Don Kunkel, who, recycles the bikes, he takes the bikes and fixes them up and refurbishes them and then makes them available free down at the Goodwill Inn and stuff. I was just wondering if, any provision was made for somebody, not him necessarily specifically, but somebody like that who's dealing with bicycles, as a charity, if you will. To let them have a crack, or even say, you can have a few of these before we put them out to auction or
Well,
whatever.
what typically, no, I don't believe so. What typically happens, according to Nate, at these auctions, though, is a number of the better bikes will go and be auctioned off for some reasonable price, but in the end, there are always 10 or 20 or 30 bikes that don't sell for whatever reason, and then what they do is I say pile them, they'll put them in groupings of 10, and somebody will buy them for $1 or $10 or something like that, and then they take them in lot and fix them up, or people do that all the time. So I think that those people have access to it, but it's not ahead of time, and it's not for free.
Okay.
But it's for almost...
My experience is probably 25% of the bikes do not receive a bid.
Okay.
Wow.
And then they just give them to, then they just dispose of them by giving them to people.
Just
The outfit is out of, it's an Illinois outfit. Now, I'm presuming that they bring a truck up here and they pick up all of this equipment and bring it down there and have their auction and then dispose of it from that
I
point.
think it's online.
Well, I understand that. They deliver it from there. Yeah, I've gone to the site, I've checked it out, so it's an interesting site. We're contracting out for this. I mean, I understand that they don't need to bring it to us. It would be interesting, though, to see what kind of revenue they get from the 50 or so bikes that are on this list, and to see if it's even worth, I mean, frankly, if the scrap metal isn't worth more than what we're going to get out of this. And further, we have a resource and recovery department that sometimes seems to me is wanting for something to do. And, perhaps we could do something in-house. I don't know, I'm kind of throwing that out there.
You mean auction them in-house? I wasn't following what you meant.
Perhaps make them available in some way, have resource and recovery approach, reuse, approach the bike shop, say, do you have an interest in these? Is there something versus, like I say, not even getting scrap value, which is probably what's going to happen after the expense of trucking down to Illinois, and then whatever the shipping costs out for these auctions.
I think I'd like to have Nate come and talk to you, because this is relatively new to use property room. For many years, we did it in the local auctions, and we just did them all locally here, and then it stayed in the community, and a lot of people got it. So I don't know the details of why the change, or if they're making more money as a result of it, so I'll have them put those numbers together for you. But, I'm going to talk to Nate. It may be useful for him to come in and have a discussion with you about it as well.
At least as a matter of curiosity.
So what you're saying is that it's not even a local auction?
No,
they pick it up and they take it away.
Okay.
That's something I didn't realize until I read through that again.
Okay, well, since we're not really making a decision on the auction here, it's just
For information.
the sheriff's office is requesting that we declare the attached list of items and bicycles surplus so they can be sold. I will make that motion,
Second.
so we can get on with it.
Motion by Richardson, second by Inman. Further discussion, Herb?
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that we have a way to register bikes, and through the police department, and if people would just register their bikes, they wouldn't be sitting on this list, because the registration is traceable. To the best of my knowledge, the last time I bought a bike, I've still got the registration that's stuck to my bike, and I would encourage the general public to register your bike, because then when it gets stolen, there's a way to trace it. Just having a serial number doesn't give you a tracing.
I don't think they do that anymore.
I think they quit that in about 1940.
Don't they still license bicycles?
1940.
No, I don't.
Doesn't the city police have some sort of registration? I thought city police do.
One thing that.
I registered mine, but it's been
I said
5
years.
No, 5 years that I've had my bike, and I registered.
I think they should be licensed.
I think there's enough, I think there are enough,
Has a cat.
I think there's enough questions here that I really would like to, I think I'd like, if you're okay, bring Nate to Ways and Means in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And have him just kind of answer some of your questions, and he can bring back some revenue numbers for you. And I think it's really useful to have that discussion. I'm sure this is more efficient for them, but, I don't know, maybe keeping them in the community may be worth a little bit of money that's lost, Let's bring him in and talk to you about it, okay?
I'm surprised at how short the property room list is this time.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's very short.
Crowbars, hammers.
I always love it that you can buy a holster, but the gun isn't with it anymore. Larry?
One thing that the way they're doing it today, is a disadvantage to the local populace is, in the past, you could show up on auction morning, and if you had proof that that was your bicycle, we always gave the bicycle back. And doing it the way they are today, that disappears. And a lot of people, particularly kids, mom and dad aren't paying attention, and the kid sees the ad or hears about the auction, they go down there, there's their bicycle. And so I think it's important to keep it in the community.
I think that's a further discussion that we can have. There's no question.
All right.
But I do know that I've seen the spring auctions when there's 250 bikes in the garage, and they're just piled up, and they just have to do something with them. They can't just keep them.
Right.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to declare these items surplus. Is there any further discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay. Now we'll go down to new business. We pulled from the Board of Commissioners meeting the Bay County resolution regarding health care reform. It's in your packet on page 61. I believe Herb pulled that.
No, that was Commissioner Gilman's.
Nope. I'm sorry, Jason did.
As I said when at last week's meeting, was that I kind of wanted to pull it and offer in some form or some way support to the 3 Bay County Commissioners who did not wish to have this resolution published and sent out to the counties in the state. I wouldn't want to insert my personal politics or anything, but the consequence, as I see it, of considering the health care reform measures as functional and being advanced in this way, they put us at risk of misallocating our finite resources at the county and the state level. And until the matter has been adjudicated in the Supreme Court, because it is likely it is going to be in the Supreme Court, I don't think we should be advancing or approving or even accepting the opinion that it is legitimate. It already has been deemed as illegitimate, in fact, in at least one of the courts.
Rob?
Yeah, we were just going to receive and file. This is just a receive and file.
Yeah, but he's saying he doesn't want to receive and file it. We don't even want
Rob?
to receive it.
Thank you. I'm still a fairly new commissioner, and it's the first time I've had something like this come in the receive and files. But I know when I'm sorting my mail at home, there's the stuff that goes in the A pile, and there's the stuff that goes right in the garbage. And this, to me, is just garbage, and I move that we do not receive and file it.
All right. I don't care.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to just not receive it and file it. Okay.
All right.
Russ?
I would suggest that you haven't read the resolution. It's not an endorsement of Obamacare.
No, it's not.
Even though many of you think it is. It basically just says that the federal government should sit everybody down and try to figure out a way to fix the existing healthcare system.
Yeah.
That would only take us a century or two.
I'm not sure what the problem is with it, but
Jason?
The resolution offers some of the same premises that were used to advance the rushed Health Care Reform Act. And the 50 million Americans number, which includes, of course, a number of illegals. It includes people who ought not be counted for these purposes because they ought not be here. And it has the whole nature of it is the arguments that were used to advance it. And again, and I'm glad that there was a motion to not receive and file it, and there was a second for it.
Russ?
well, since we're going to vote on this, I'm going to at least read the resolved part, so when we say that we're not going to allow it to be received, at least public will know what it is. What it says is, resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners urges our federal legislators to address the problem of the uninsured in America as a top priority, Be it further resolved that in addition to the problem with the millions of uninsured Americans, the Bay County Board of Commissioners strongly emphasizes reform in the manner in which health care is funded and delivered. Be it further resolved that this reform be accomplished in Washington, D.C. The reform should be intended to provide quality care for all and drive the cost of providing that care down. In the United States, we are at a competitive disadvantage with other industrialized countries who provide health care to their citizens in a more comprehensive and efficient manner. Be it further resolved that this vital and complex change in the way health care should be funded and delivered would involve all parties who have a stake in the system. Be it further resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners urges support from both the public sector and private sectors to strongly urge Congress to bring together in a forum those who comprise the existing healthcare system. The healthcare providers, insurance companies, doctors, lawyers, drug manufacturers, academia, and consumer to put aside their individual interests and develop a comprehensive and efficient healthcare system that will not only provide quality care to all, but to do so in an efficient manner that will benefit the American people as well as those employers who are bearing an unfair burden and funding health care within the present system. And the rest of the resolution just says we're going to send it to everybody.
Rob?
My point is, this is not the right venue. We aren't the federal government, and a lot of the stuff they say in here I don't agree with anyways. It's junk mail to me. It's basically saying the United States is at a disadvantage because we're not a socialist country. I disagree. I think we're at an advantage because we're not a socialist country. It's junk mail. We shouldn't be bothered. We're here to do the work of the local people in Grand Traverse County, and they're saying that the federal government needs to fix all our problems. I don't agree. It's trash.
Herb?
I think it has to do with state rights. The federal government shouldn't be telling the states what we should be doing for our citizens.
Well, I guess my perspective is we receive it and we file it, whether we file it and never plan to pull it out and take action on it, or whether we file it just like Rob said at home. I have a circular file cabinet that I put some of that stuff that comes in my mailbox. But the fact is, I still receive it and file it. I believe, officially the county has to at least receive the communications that we receive from other counties. I think we're responsible to receive it and file it. We don't have to take action on it, and no one's asking to take action on it. But I believe we do have to receive and file the official documentation that came from Bay County directed to Grand Traverse County. Rob?
Why don't we have every piece of junk mail on our agendas then, if we have to receive everything that's sent to us?
I thought we did.
Oh, no.
That's a resolution
The
from
difference
another
is,
county.
this is a resolution from another county that was sent to all of the counties in the state, I would assume, and that makes it an official document that was sent directly to Grand Traverse County from another county. I believe we are responsible to receive it and file it. We do not have to act on it, but we have to receive it and file it.
Dennis, is there some rule about receiving, filing? We have responsibility here?
There is no rule that I'm aware of that requires everything to be received and filed, but Commissioner Wheelock is correct. In the past, when you received and filed as a courtesy any resolution that came from another unit of government, that did not indicate approval or support. It only indicated that you saw it. And if the board was going to support any item that came, it went back to a committee and then was adopted, and then the county would pass a resolution agreeing with the resolution of Bay County, for example. But there is no rule that I'm aware of that requires everything to be received and filed. But that's how it's been done in the past.
Larry?
I think if we wanted to receive and file it, the motion probably should be exactly what Bay County voted on, and I would assume that perhaps it would be a nay vote. So it's a matter of record then.
I don't know if I want to do
Well,
that.
You're still just...
No, that would only be if you wanted to take action on their resolution.
Right.
All I'm suggesting is that we receive it and file it and move on. We do not take action, we do not undertake the discussion. Ross?
The city doesn't do a receive and file. They just have on the end of their
correspondence.
agenda, they just have reports, and they usually just list, like, minutes that other, committees send them of their actions and stuff like that. So, I mean, even the fact that we take action on a receive and file is maybe a little unusual, but whatever.
Any further discussion?
What's the motion?
You
It
want to read
was
the motion?
Motion
it
is
was
not
to not receive and file the resolution.
Okay, so a yes vote is to not receive and file it, a no vote is to receive and file the resolution as we received it.
You have to do a roll call, I'm sure.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
No.
Richardson?
No.
Glemkool?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Chairman Wheelock?
No.
Please?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next item would be the second opportunity for public comment. Seeing no public in the audience, unless some commissioner has a public comment that they want to make. Herb?
Well, I don't know if you want it during public comment or just on commissioner committee reports or something.
Okay, well, then we'll move forward to commissioner committee reports. Herb?
In the NACO newsletter, it talked about the celebrating the National County Government Month. I've always been a big proponent of doing something for our Grand Terrace County citizens to let them know what county government is really all about. I would like to see us do a resolution in recognition of national county government, but also, one of their issues is that they would like to see us focus the theme on our veterans, our armed forces, and their families. We have at least one of our employees who's deployed, and we have at least one of our employees' family member who is deployed. And I'd just like to see us maybe give some recognition of those people that are within Grand Terrace County government, but also Grand Terrace County citizens. We have a group of people that send care packages every month to people that are deployed, and it's rather interesting to see how they get together. I think last night they got together and did a care package, and they're looking for a list of people from Grand Terrace County citizens who have been deployed, and they will send a package to them on a monthly basis. And when these guys and gals get these packages, they're really, really thankful, because it's a lot of stuff that they don't normally have at their fingertips to be able to go out and just buy at a PX or something else. So I would like to ask, one thing is to do a resolution in recognition of National County Government Week, but I'd also like to see us use some sort of a theme or some way to recognize those veterans and those people that are deployed that are Grand Terrace County citizens and in Grand Terrace County employees.
Is it May?
No, it's April.
April.
Maybe we can address that at the next meeting. Add it to the agenda.
Is it part of the administration? Is that when you want to do
Yeah,
it?
put it on RMA next week.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
put it on RMA, and we will try to, between now and then, maybe come up with some such suggestions.
Yeah, I hope I have the support of my fellow commissioners on this, so.
Chris?
Yeah, that's fine.
Chris?
The Commission on Aging board meeting was Tuesday, and I thought this is a perfect opportunity to mention that the Commission on Aging does have an employee that is over in Afghanistan, and we have
Yeah, I know.
sent care packages. We also have taken donations from board members and anyone to purchase phone cards, because apparently they use Skype to communicate with their families, and it's extremely expensive.
Skype is free.
I don't know, there's some kind of internet thing that they need, and it's expensive. But anyway, we've donated cash, our own, not county money, or millage dollars. It's just out of our own pockets for that purpose. And I also want to mention that at Tuesday's board meeting, Georgia Durga, the director, announced that she had received 2 calls saying, checking, because one from a client, one from a non-client, who said that they had been solicited on the phone for a donation for Commission on Aging.
I heard that.
Yeah, and
What was it?
I heard Tuesday night that there may be a third one who was solicited. And I just want to let everybody know that the Commission on Aging is not soliciting funds right now, and they don't do it by phone.
It was in the paper this morning.
Okay. I think that's it.
Larry?
At last month's Beta Board meeting, the board made a motion for the renewal of the Beta millage, and the election will be placed on the ballot November 2011, and will actually be less than what we asked for the last time, 5 years ago. Another thing I would going to ask Dennis to put on the next week's agenda is the county health building. I think there's some options that the board needs to take a look at. And, I'll be prepared to do a small presentation on that.
Okay. Anyone else? Ross?
TC Talus, which now has Grand Vision implementation money to spend, we had a subcommittee meeting on Monday, and a proposal was taken forward to, will be taken forward to the regular TC Talus meeting, which will be 2 weeks from yesterday, but there's three road commission projects, 2 small and 1 large. One's a mill and fill for South Airport around Grand Traverse Mall, and there's also a $240,000 proposal to help Beta with some new shelters to help improve their fixed route system and so forth. So TC Talus will be taking action on that in a couple of weeks.
The only thing I would add myself, the Solid Waste Planning Committee has met and is moving forward with the overall look of at our county solid waste plan, cover to cover. Bob and I have met. We've identified a number of things that are in our plan that we don't do. Saying what we're trying to do right now is just compile this in a format that the members of that 14-member public committee can review these things and say, okay, are these things that we really want to start doing, or are we happy that we don't do them? As I think most of you that are familiar with the solid waste plan, there's a lot of things in Grand Traverse County solid waste plan that were very directed toward a certain result. We have decided not to go that way. We do not have county-owned facilities. We don't have a county-wide contract, and therefore, even though there are specific things that are required by our plan, if we're not going to do them, we need to take them out of the plan as part of this revision process. We do have a public hearing, I believe it is the 26th of this month, for the amendment to make the American Waste Facility on Hughes Drive a use by right as an identified facility within our county plan.
What time?
7 o'clock, I believe, at the Civic Center.
PMs?
Yes. I'm sure that's what it was. I'm not sure I put it in this phone book. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't put it in here, but I believe it's 7 o'clock in the evening. Oh, I'm sorry, it's on the 21st. Solid Waste Planning Committee meeting, April 21st. Public hearing is at 7 p.m., and that will be on the amendment to make the American Waste Facility on Hughes Drive a use by right. And then after that, the subcommittee will meet to review the other things to move forward after the public hearing.
Does that have to come back to us after they do that?
Yes. Well, if you recall, the amendment had to be drafted. It had to be out for 90 days for public input, and then a public hearing is held. Then after that, then it will come back as a recommendation to this board. Well, it'll go back as a recommendation to the Board of Public Works. Then it'll have to come back as a recommendation from the Board of Public Works and the Solid Waste Planning Committee to this board. We have to authorize it, and then it has to go out to the 13 townships, the city, and the 2 villages.
Right. Crazy, isn't it?
Dennis, would you please put the Board of Commissioners appointed officials policy and procedures on RM&A's agenda.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what that is.
We have Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners appointed officials policy and procedures for application, appointment, and conduct. And it's a policy. And I would like to have that put on RM&A's agenda, please.
Thought we just approved that.
Dennis, what the issue is that in the committee that worked on that project had talked about, once we accomplished the policy and the application form, then we would probably come back and talk to the commissioners and staff about how we, if we put on our website, in addition to all the boards and commissions that we have, the individual names and their expiration dates, and any contact information.
No.
Whether that was appropriate or not.
One of the things we seemed to agree on in the ad hoc committee was that on our application, people should be notified that their information that they're supplying us is public information. And we also felt that since these board members are serving the public, that we ought to have some type of way for the public to sign on to the county's website and find that contact information. And the reason I'm asking is I could not find my Commission on Aging contact list. I'm packing boxes in my house. And so I looked on the county's website and I couldn't find anything. And then I remembered that we talked about this in the ad hoc committee, and I just would like to know what the board's feeling is, if we should somehow...
This is the perfect time because we're redoing the website. We started that about 2 weeks ago, so it's the perfect time to discuss that. So you want the policy on here so you can have that discussion.
Yeah.
We'll do that at RMA.
Are there any other commissioner committee reports? Seeing none, just a reminder, on April 12th, we have a mandatory statutorily required Board of Commissioner equalization meeting at 2 p.m. in Chambers. That's the day that Lori will give us the equalization numbers. It's required by Constitution to be held on the first Tuesday after the third Wednesday or whatever it is.
Whatever the state legislature said.
It doesn't make, it's very complicated to read, but it's April 12th.
I did ask staff to try to figure out why 2 o'clock, and I think it's because we've been doing it that way at 2 o'clock. So I think next year, we may want to talk about that, and you may have a better time that you'd rather have that meeting set.
Can we do it as part of one of our other meetings?
It has to be separate.
It has to be a separate meeting, and it has to be held on that day.
But we can do it at 6, oh, no, we can't, we don't have another meeting on Tuesday.
You don't have another meeting on Tuesday, at least this year.
Yeah.
But we could do it at a different time.
Is there any purpose for closed session?
No.
Seeing none, we'll have entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All gone. Thank you, everyone.